I may not be alive for long. I need to get this off my chest. Just 2 months ago, I was living on my mom's money. Humiliating, right? So when I saw a random office job, I immediately scheduled an interview for the next day over the phone. When I arrived, it seemed perfectly normal. Until the first question. Are you able to follow rules without questioning why they exist? Okay. What? I was suspicious now. Something sketchy going on here. Am I about to be involved in something illegal? I was honestly gonna leave, but the $500K a year made me abandon all morals and try to get the job regardless. Maybe they just have strict policies, I told myself. Can you use Excel? Of course. All right. Read this, she said, sliding over a piece of paper. Here's what it said. Are you LESMUSTAGO of OLLOWT 1. DO and OT. Look at any of your coworkers. If they wave at you while their back is turned to you, you must look away immediately. If they block the entrance to your office, alert the supervisor. If not, go into your office without looking at them and do your work as normal. 2. DO and OT. Look at your office roof if the lights in the hallway leading to the office are red. 3. If you are tapped 3 times on your shoulder in your office, then stand up and turn to look behind you. If a man without a face is there, do not speak. It may react with your body, but any noise from your mouth will result in him taking your soul. He may attempt to snatch your soul regardless, but if you follow the steps properly, simply close your eyes until the pain in your chest is gone. Then open them. Resume your work. Note, after the taps on your shoulder, you have 15 seconds to face the man. DONOTCOTOTOT OTBICMENTFLOR ATTMPTINGT OTILLRESULTININ MEDIATE IMINATION. What the hell is this? I said, breaking all professional tone. It doesn't happen often. Trust me. You'll be fine if you follow the rules. She said, is this a joke? I said, no. And I understand if you do not take the position. I could tell it was real. Just from her face. Completely serious and a little sad. I didn't know what to think. Was she insane? I could tell she wasn't lying. Is she just schizophrenic? But I had nothing to lose. Really, I didn't. I didn't care too much if something took my soul, really. My life was not worth more than $500K a year. Living in the world's tiniest apartment. And failing all my classes with daily calls from my mom berating me for still being jobless. I took the job. But before leaving, she made me type the rules on my phone and gave me over 10 copies of the rules on paper. Please be careful, she said, sounding guilty. Also, no discussing this with anyone outside work. You may with your coworkers, but do not expect them to respond. Day 1, I come in and there is nothing out of the ordinary. Hallway lights are white. No one waving while turned away. And obviously I wouldn't try going to the basement floor. I was, however, terrified of the man without a face thing. I kept looking back the entire day. After the day was over, I really started thinking maybe she was crazy. Maybe it was a prank. I tested to see how far I would go for the job. I tried talking to a coworker about this. They mumbled something about being careful while looking at me with pity. Actually, I soon noticed EVRYONE looking at me with that same look. I guess she warned me they wouldn't talk about it. Day 6, nothing happened until day 6. When I came into the building, there he was. A coworker who I'd only seen a handful of times, just standing there, back turned to me. And they waved. After a second, I snapped my head down then backwards. My breathing was heavy. Surely it was a prank. Right? After a second, I went into my office without looking over there. That's all that happened the rest of the day. Expect I was much more paranoid, especially about that faceless man. I never talked to that coworker again. I was too scared. Day 17, the red lights. I froze again. I had to make it through the entire 8 hours without looking up. I felt an urge to look up. Not curiosity. Something else. It was pulling me forcefully and I could feel it growing stronger. I almost gave in. Just seeing if this was a test or a prank or something. Something that made the slightest bit of sense. I didn't. I was too scared. I sprinted out at a speed I didn't even know I could go the second my time was up. Day 29, the first time it happened. I was working normally. With no occurrences since day 17. Tap, 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 tap. I froze for I don't know how long. But under 15 seconds since I'm still here. I had been preparing for almost a month. Clearly I wasn't prepared. When I remembered, I immediately stood up and looked at him. I didn't make a sound. Not from my mouth, at least. My heart was beating so hard it hurt my chest. Wait, my chest. It hurt too much. Oh no. I closed my eyes. I was shaking so bad I almost fell. The pain wasn't too bad. Or maybe it was just the least of my worries then. The pain stopped. I opened my eyes and there was no one there. I sat back down and just stared at the screen for 30 minutes. Then I resumed my work. Every time something happened, I wanted to quit. But then at home I saw everything the money had done. My apartment was huge. A car I always dreamed of, which they gave me for free after a few days to make sure I didn't quit. Calls from my mom saying how proud of me she was. Food from expensive restaurants. And so much more. I didn't want to leave. Somewhere in month 2 I heard a call between my interviewer and someone else. I could only hear the lady who interviewed me. You know, we have to do this. Look, I know it's bad, but it's the only way to keep them here. Alright, sure, maybe we put these people through trauma and often get them killed. I know it's wrong, but it's what we have to do to make sure those things don't run wild. Well, that's your choice. Just don't tell anyone. Please. The call hung up. I understood what was happening then. I was a guard, keeping those things here. If I didn't, they would presumably escape or something. I didn't know how to feel. What could I do with that information anyways? Should I have felt happy I was keeping the world safe or what? I just went to work. They kept getting more often. In months 2 they appeared almost every day. And I kept getting closer to slipping up. One day on my computer screen something showed up. When I opened it, a message appeared. It was a lie. That call was fabricated to make you believe you're working for a noble cause. They are using you. They wait for you to slip up, and you will then join their ranks. They are raising an army. There is one way to stop this. Go to the basement floor and open the metal door. You must first get the keycard of the person who hired you. Then put it into the open slot below the buttons and proceed to the basement. After you have done this, come back, and we will discuss step 2. Then my computer returned to normal. What should I do? Who was this person? Are they telling the truth? But I couldn't just sit by. My life was great, but every day I fell into a greater depression. I was not sure of why I was doing this. Why I was risking my life for something I wasn't even enjoying due to everything I went through. I buried those thoughts and told myself I was happy and that I didn't care if something happened. Just as I told you. I thought and thought. It didn't make sense. How would working there keep those things there? And why didn't they want me in the basement? I knew that I was right. I knew what I had to do. After 3 days of planning, I finally snuck into her office room and found her keycard. I walked out after making sure no one was there. She would know soon enough. I needed to go. I found an empty elevator and put the card in the slot. A beep. And I clicked it with my hands shaking. I made it down there, and I saw the door. DONOTOP, and written across it. Another rule. I yanked the door open. Nothing inside. Alright, now I needed to wait for that message on my computer saying what I need to do next. I returned up quickly and put the keycard back. Before she got back from her break. I had time now. I went back, but nothing on my computer. Maybe tomorrow, I thought. In the middle of the night when I was sleeping, there was a massive boom. Everything shook. Everyone was awake. I went outside. The area where the job building once stood. Destroyed by a massive explosion. 80 deaths. No one was found inside, however. It's been 2 days since that. There has barely been time for the news to document this, as now 400 people in my town have died. All in gruesome ways. But their chest is always intact, and always has 3 claw marks on it, big ones covering most of it. Today my newspaper was blank. Except for one thing. THANKS was written across it with blood followed by 3 claw marks. There's no way to sugarcoat this. I almost died Sunday night, and at this point, I've given up on believing last week's encounter was just a one-off thing. There's something seriously wrong with this place, and I think I'm officially far too deep to claw my way back out. Okay, I need to calm down and write my thoughts clearly. If you have no idea who I am, I would recommend that you go and read my previous post here. But if you don't want to catch up, just know that I worked the night shift at a gas station at the edge of town where weird things are starting to happen. After putting out my last post, I got so much needed sleep and the rest of my day went smoothly. As I mentioned at the end of my previous post, I ended up leaving an hour early for work. I wasn't sure if I would learn anything new, but it was worth a try. When I got into my car, the radio sprang to life talking about the local killings plaguing the area. People have been found with their entrails sprawled out from their stomachs and the right eye removed. I'll tell you it's some scary shit. Luckily it had nothing to do with me. Once I got to work, I met up with the guy who was working. I found out his name is Jacob. If I could choose one word to describe him, it would easily be stoner. Got an idea of what he looks like in your head? Great. 'Cause you're dead on. He wore a slightly dirty hoodie with jeans and a beanie pulling his entire outfit together. Other than that, he's a pretty cool guy. None of that matters though. I only had one question I needed to ask him. Yo, Jacob, have you ever seen anything weird around the gas station? I asked bluntly. Beating around the bush was never my forte. Raising his eyebrow, he placed his finger on his chin, as I could see him racking his brain for an answer. Nothing I can really think of off the top of my head. Although there is that weird dog hanging around the woods. Replying bluntly, I couldn't help but raise my own eyebrow at his response. Weird dog? What weird dog? I asked. You know, man, that hairless dog that hangs around right on the edge of the woods. It's pretty weird. It's got all white skin with these bright orange eyes. It's whatever though. Probably a stray. A part of me couldn't believe what I was hearing. The other part of me couldn't believe he was sharing this so calmly. My mouth hung slightly agape as the only thing I could muster was a light huh. Anyways, I'm gonna get out of here since you showed up. Have a good night. Man waving me off. He left the store. Left alone with my thoughts in the now empty store. I couldn't help but let my feelings known to the dead air around me. Oh come on. Am I being P-ranked right now? Fortunately for me, the rest of that night went smoothly without any unwanted visitors from the grave. In all honesty, the rest of the week flew by without any new visitors gunning for my head. Although, that doesn't mean nothing happened at all. After talking with a few of you, I received the idea of putting a line of salt across the front doorway of the store, as this was a way to ward off entities. Now if I'm gonna be honest, it sounded like the stupidest idea I've ever heard. But hey, I'd rather test something and look like an idiot instead of dying. So I went ahead and laid a line out on Thursday night. Around at 1:30 a customer oak and the front door before looking down, noticing the thin line of salt. I could see him out of the corner of my eye stop and think for a moment before turning to me. Is that salt? He asked, perplexed. Not looking away from my book, I answered unamused. Sure is. Responding clearly unamused. Why? Ants. You guys have an ant infestation? Nope. But it can happen. A man finally gave up with a shrug before finishing his business and sighed and leaving. I can't say if it worked or not. However, I can at least say nothing happened in the few days I tried the salt line out. Maybe I need to try it again. Well, there were a couple of you who recommended a book series to me from a guy named Jack, as my experience sounded very similar to some of the stuff he experienced while working at a gas station. I'm only through the first bit of book one, and good God, that guy is being put through the ringer. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to apply anything that he has described to what I'm going through, but I'll keep reading to see what else I can try and grasp. Sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Let me explain what happened last weekend. Let me preface everything with the fact that I felt incredibly paranoid these last couple of days. It feels like someone's been watching my every move day in and day out. The problem is that every other day felt like I was being watched from afar. Then Saturday night it felt as though the person was breathing down my neck. I should have been on high alert all night. However, things never seemed to work out in my favor. Sunday marked my 21st birthday. Regularly this a monumental occasion. But with everything that has been going on, it would have slipped my mind if it weren't for a couple of my friends. Because of that, I ended up at a local hole in the wall a couple hours before work with a couple of my boys. So while they were busy getting shit-faced, I resigned myself to just a single beer. Even so, it was still a great time. Well, that was before the first red flag of night reared its ugly head, which I promptly ignored. It was around 9 when the Hyler with a heavy slur in his speech turned to me. I just don't get it, Landon. What do you have and I don't? Turning my attention to him, I produced my best huff ace before responding. Tyler, what the hell are you talking about? You're drunk. Waving him off before returning to my drink. Are you really that oblivious? That girl back there has been staring at you since we got here. As he finished, he gestured behind me with his eyes. Swallowing the pit my throat spawned on from a mixture of fear and nervousness. I gingerly turned in the direction he gestured to, only to be met with an empty table. Haha, very funny. Don't get my hopes up like that. Giving him a light punch in the shoulder before picking my beer back up to finish the last bit. Although as I tilted the glass up, I noticed light bubbling within the liquid. Stupidly, I still finished it off. I don't know, man. That's weird. I just saw her over there. She did walk right up behind you when you were talking about that weird feeling you've been having the last couple of days. Oh well. Shrugging, he continued to drink. Although for me his statement left me feeling incredibly disturbed. Still I just shrugged it off as a drunk man rambling and let the night end like that. However, for me, my nightmare had only just begun. Upon leaving my house, I couldn't shake the nagging sensation of being watched from the depths of my brain. Even once I reached the gas station, the sensation never left, having to just grunt and bear it. I quickly made my way into the pitch-black building, unlocking the door and switching on the lights as I entered. Let me quickly explain how our gas station operates. We are open 24/5, closing at 10 p.m. Friday to 9 p.m. Sunday. As you can probably guess, I am in charge of opening the station come Sunday night. Honestly, I never look forward to this shift. I always experience an overlooming sense of dread as I stick the key into the front door, almost as though I am opening Pandora's box. Fortunately for me, there were no mysterious figures waiting for me inside the empty stations, only coolers of drinks, shelves of food, a note on the counter. A note on the counter? Walking to the back of the counter, I tossed my backpack to the floor and picked up the note. In thick crimson and text the note read, "Have you ever felt the gaze of another?" In all honesty, I probably had the dumbest confused look on my face as I read those words over and over in my head. Finally having enough, I crumpled the note up and threw it into the garbage can beside me before I spoke. Okay, if there is someone hiding in here trying to play a prank, I will warn you now that I am armed and if I find you, I will call the police. I produced a small flip knife from my pocket and flipped the blade out. I'm starting my shift by clearing the store of intruders. Great. Who do I think I am? SWAT? With that, I began clearing each room, which luckily didn't take long as there were only 4 in total. I won't bore you with the details, because no one was in there. The bathroom, storage room and fridge were all clear of intruders. In the end, I brushed off the note as a prank and finished setting the store up for the night. It was around 12:30 am when I heard a light ringing noise coming from one of the coolers. Sighing, I sat my book down on the counter next to my knife and made my way towards the coolers. As I opened the corresponding cooler, the noise suddenly cut as if being connected with the door opening. However, once I closed the door, the ringing was gone altogether. Shrugging, I started to turn around and make my way back to my seat as a voice produced in front of me, giving me a mini heart attack. "Excuse me, I have a question," the woman uttered. "Holy God, okay, sorry. You scared the hell out of me right there. I never heard you come in," I responded as I jumped back in fright, trying to catch my breath. Now I'm going to be honest with you. This woman was absolutely stunning. I would guess she was in her mid-20s with sleek jet black hair and piercing crimson eyes. She wore a long black dress and black heels, and all someone that I shouldn't be seeing at this time of night in this part of town. Honestly, I get surprised when I see anyone on the side of town. I didn't mean to frighten you. I'm sorry. I'm looking for something very specific, and I was hoping you would help me find it. She spoke in a soft, sultry voice. It felt as though she was drawing me in with every word she spoke. Yeah, sure I can. What are you looking for?" Stuttering lightly as I replied. I continued to keep my eyes locked on the strange woman. Responding to my word, she cracked a small smile and spoke. "Well, what I'm looking for isn't the easiest thing to acquire. You see, although I must say, has anyone told you how beautiful your eyes are?" Slightly confused at the sudden compliment, I felt a tinge of fear crawl up my spine. Trying my best to shake it off, I started my reply. "I'm sorry. What are?" As I spoke, my vision started to spiral and a sense of dizziness overcame me. I started stumbling backwards into the cooler, clutching my head. "WHA? What's going on?" My speech was shaky. As I glanced back at her, I could see her wide-eyed, looking slightly up at me with her hand over her mouth. "Numb. What's wrong?" "Madden, you looking well." Time seemed to freeze as my brain panicked, consumed by fear. "My name. How does she know my name?" My eyes dashed from side to side looking for an escape before finally landed back on her. She stood like a mountain in front of me. A large sheet-eating grin had plastered across her face as I could feel her eyes digging burrows into me, as if a predator examining its prey. I slowly inched my hand to my waist, searching for my knife to protect myself. To my horror, I remembered sitting down on the counter when I got up. Cursing myself in my head, I started slowly backing away towards the back room. "What's wrong? Don't tell me you're scared of a harmless girl." As she finished, her arm produced a bone-churning crack, and as a thick black matter spread across her arm, stretching it out and giving her thick sharp claws as the cherry on top. With that, I didn't care how messed up I was. I wasn't just going to stand here and let her maul me to death. In a split second, I pulled all my strength together and made a break for the back room. I could hear her sprinting right behind me, aiming with every second passed. As terrified as I was, I managed to make it to the door, throwing it open with all my strength before slamming it behind me, and locked it before she started wiggling and pulling on the handle to force it open. WHATTLLISWRONGWADHYOU. WH, what even are you? My voice started to falter as I slowly inched backwards. I could feel my heart beating faster than I ever thought it could. It felt as though it would fly out of my chest if given the chance. On the opposite end, I could feel my mind starting to slip into unconsciousness as I stood in the pitch-black room, and for a few moments things stood that way. My breathing started to slow as I started racking my brain for a solution to get me out of this nightmare. That's when I realized I no longer heard any noises coming from outside the door. Where could she have gone? What are you hiding from? Reflexively, I whipped my head towards the source of the noise. But before I even got a chance to react, I felt a hand tightly grip my neck before raising me up and throwing me through the previously locked door. As I flew through the air, I finally landed as my back made contact with the front counter, sending countless items, including myself, crashing to the floor. Face down on the floor, every breath I took felt like stabbing a knife into my spine. As I lay there in agony, my eye caught a glimpse of a shiny object laying directly in front of me. This is my favorite part. Did you know that? Go on and beg for your pathetic life. Maybe I'll listen. Her voice had switched to nothing more than a conniving holler, flipping me over onto my back, no doubt to delight in my suffering. I made eye contact with my soon-to-be killer. Her arms were still as long and animalistic as before, and now her legs and heels looked as though they had molded together, stretching to an inhuman length. The right side of her face was now consumed by the blackness, causing her eye to bulge and teeth to resemble tiny razor blades. The other side of her face was still completely normal, causing a contrast that gave me more chills than if she was just a horrifying amalgamation outright. Grinning from ear to whatever was left of her ear, she awaited my reply. Eat a dick. I'd rather die with my pride than beg like a bitch. In retrospect, that probably would have sounded a lot cooler if I didn't have to pause between almost every word. Still on the verge of passing out, I knew I didn't have long before my life would be snuffed out. Might as well go out with a bit of dignity. To no one's surprise, however, she did not like this. Reaching down, she gripped my neck and raised me to meet her face to face. If you want me to do that, IWILL, you will not be getting out this alive or with any sense of your pride still flourishing. This will be hell for you but heaven for me. So be happy with that. Reaching her other hand towards my stomach, I could feel her claws brush against her soon-to-be canvas. WWY, barely being able to choke out a single word. Why what? Why you? Why do I kill? Come on. You need to use your words. Letting up her grip just a smudge to let me answer. Why? Did you let down your guard? A confused expression fell across her face as I mustered up my last bit of strength and plunged the knife I death gripped into her neck. Immediately I fell crashing onto the floor as I could see black sludge start to seep out of her neck. My brain finally gave up on me as I started to drift into unconsciousness. I could feel a light warmth start to swell on my wrist as my vision finally went dark. The last thing I heard was a deep Epo voice say Scarlet, with a lighter voice responding, oh no. During my state of unconsciousness, I was enveloped with a dream. I sat at the head of a long table aligned with blacked-out figures filling each chair. They were all engaged in a conversation I could not hear, some nodding while others flailed their arms in annoyance. After what seemed like minutes, all of them turned to face me and in unison said, right, Landon. 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 In an instant my eyes shot open and I was met with my coworker, Jacob, shaking me. I was sitting in my chair with a clean store facing directly in front of me. Come on, man. What are you doing? Happy I'm opening today. Don't worry, I won't tell the boss you were napping on the job, haha. I don't think I even have their number. Pulling the conversation into all and of nothingness. Still reeling back from still being alive. I tried to keep my cool as I slowly stood up, my back shooting with pain as I did. What time is it? It's 7. I guess you should probably get out here, huh? Nodding in agreement, steady journey to the front door. However, before I could make it, Jacob stopped me. Hold up, bro. You don't want to leave without this. Also, don't forget, we're hanging out next week. Stretching his hand out, he handed me my knife with the tip of the blade completely black. The only response I could muster was a simple head nod as I took the knife from him and went home. I called off the last 2 days because of this. My back is still killing me, but it's starting to feel better. I can't write this off as a one-off incident anymore. There's something seriously wrong with that gas station, and it might even spread to the rest of the town. I don't know. I'm terrified to go back. Yet I feel as though I don't have another choice. I've been going back and forth the last 2 days writing this update. Today I got a call from my boss. He told me that we have someone new starting tomorrow and that he would like me to train them on the night shift. I don't know what this will entail, but I feel as though any day from now on could be my last. After all, I still feel like I'm being watched. Even now. Still, I won't die lying down. So I'll be back soon to update you all on the happenings at my gas station. However, if I don't, assume the worst.